Hello, I am coming on line tonight about and the topic I want to speak about is staying positive through things that we really dealing with in life. I know sometimes I get off focused and I could really harm myself by not being uh, on my not thinking about being prepared and not being. Hey, Shawn, thank you for
Hey,
joining me.
hey, hey,
Um,
yeah, I didn't know as far as I was so used to it being landscape, so give
I,
me a few moments, guys.
yeah, sure. But I was just explaining the live that I know that for me in the past I used to do things that would sabotage, you know, me moving forward with what I had wanted to accomplish for myself. And so that's something that you and I will be talking about tonight.
All right, give me a few seconds here. Guys,
Sure.
I definitely do apologize.
No, you're good.
No, man, I like to be so much more prepared in this. So again, I apologize for the camera
Right.
fumbling, all that good stuff. So give me a
Yeah. And plus
second.
it's late where you are. Uh you know. But you are bushy. You are bright and shiny and chipper, even though
That's right.
it's almost 2 o'clock your time.
That's right. We,
Yeah.
we
So,
put in that work. We put in that work. Don't matter.
always, always, yes. We're on the path to prosperity. We
Absolutely.
winners over here. We winners over here.
That's right. Come on
All
now.
we do is win, 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 win.
That's right. That's right. So who we have on board here as far as for in the listening audience?
Uh, Hold on. I don't see anybody. I don't.
Let's invite some folks. Let some people know that we are on
I
here.
did. I thought I did.
Let's invite some folks here. Get some people in here. Let's get some folks in here.
Yeah, I invited quite a few.
All right,
But
cool. Well,
it's Saturday night, so give them the choice to watch if they choose. Yep.
that's right.
You know
That's
they
right.
they will eventually, you
Yeah.
know. So we're just gonna do our thing, but I I have okay.
All right, yeah.
Did,
Hello?
did I go off? I apologize.
Yeah, I mean, like your
Okay.
screen, it was just like it froze. So,
Yeah. Okay. So, tell me a bit about your businesses. I
say,
know you have. I would really would like for you to talk about you being a hypno. But how you pronounce it?
oh, a
Hypnosis.
hypnotherapist.
Yeah, hypnotherapist. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Tell tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so basically, guys, so I'm a hypnotherapist, and basically what that means is that I provide people with an um alternative method as far as for helping them as far as what any potential problems or issues in which that they may have. So that ranges anywhere from anxiety, depression, fear of flying, self-esteem, self-confidence. Say for instance, if you have a big test coming up, right, and you need help as far as with studying for that class. So I help individuals with a multitude of different issues. And the beautiful part with hypnotherapy is that it's very therapeutic and it's very safe. Hypnosis is something in which that we all go through each and every single day, but is that more times than not, we don't recognize it. We consider it as far as like daydreaming or drifting off.
Mm.
So hypnosis is something that we are all in that state. It's a natural state, and we all go through that on a day in and day out basis. It's just a matter of whether you're aware of it or not. So with with hypnotherapy, it is a modality in which I use that as far as to help people go more deeper by using the power of their subconscious mind.
Mm-hmm.
So the beautiful part about that is that with hypnosis is that you're like in a relaxed, calm, trance-like state, and
Mm-hmm.
you are fully aware of everything in which is going on. So I can't have you do anything in which that you're not comfortable with. So you're fully aware of everything which is going on, but you're in a more relaxed space. Some people have literally have went to sleep, right? And that's because it's so comfortable, and thus this way it allows for the suggestions to really take root through the subconscious mind, which Dr. Kappas, the founder of HMI Institute, that's the school that I attend, he deems that 88% of our subconscious mind is the most dominant, right? That's the stuff in which that
Right.
we do on a day in and day out basis, such as how we wake up in the morning, how the way we wash up, we brush our teeth, how the way that we're driving, right, to work, or we're just going about our day, right?
Mhm.
That's
Right.
88%. That's our subconscious mind ruling us. The 12%, which is our conscious mind, is that which you're basically hearing me right now. You're using decision making, you're using logic, reasoning. So as you listen to the sound of my voice, your conscious mind is processing and saying, well, okay, well, that makes sense, right? And that
Mm.
makes sense. So
Right.
we are consciously aware, that's a 12%, but the 88%, which is the subconscious mind, that dominates our daily lives in and out. So with
Okay.
hypnotherapy, it's a great practice, and this is why I love being a hypnotherapist, because now it allows for me to have my clients go much more deeper, and it really helps as far as a lot of issues that people may or may not even be aware of.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you. So how do you stay positive when um when you have a client that is dealing with their like childhood trauma or something that they're not quite ready to deal with yet? How do you stay positive and guide them through it so that it could be a good experience?
That's a great question too, Nadra. And one of the ways in which that, and this is very important because as a therapist, you have to lay down a foundation, right, for yourself.
Mhm.
Because as human beings, it's very easy for us to be emotional, right? Because
Yeah.
of the fact that we want to, help, right? We want to be there. We want to be able to, step into their shoes, so to speak, and
Right.
really feel, not sympathize, but empathize with them.
Okay.
However, as being a therapist, you still have to be neutral, so to speak, and you have to ground yourself. So what I do is that there's a number of different ways in which that I ground myself. First and foremost, I make sure that my feet is flat on the floor. And anytime if I feel that something that's triggered me, what I would do is that I'll either just have my hands together like this, or what I'll do is that I will cross my legs. And what that does is that it blocks off as far as that emotional energy. So some people, you may hear it as a transference, right?
Mhm.
So
Right.
a transference of that person's energy because we are
Yeah.
energy. So
Yeah.
to counteract that, right, you want to make sure that it's not transferable over to you. So
Okay.
this is one way, and crossing your legs is another way to go ahead and keep yourself neutral. Another method and which is that it's something which is called an anchor. And allow me to explain. An anchor is something in which that's very, I would say, sacred or very unique to you. It could be in the form of a waterfall. It can maybe be like a picture. It can maybe be as far as that rose that you have as far as on your head, nature. It can be something maybe as far as on your board in which that you have. Anything that's significant to you.
Right.
So when that comes about, you can actually, that's why they call it an anchor, right? Because you can go back to that image. And as long as you're able to visualize or imagine, play, or pretend, right, you can always go back to that scene and that can bring you back,
Oh,
right?
wow.
Breathing, breathing is also very, very important to breath work. A lot of people, they don't see a huge benefit of breath work, but breath work is very powerful by just allowing yourself to take, just those deep breaths
Mm.
and really focusing on your breathing, the inhale aspect, the exhale aspect, and really be consciously aware. If you think about that, and I'm hoping I'm answering your question, but if you think about that, do we think about breathing on a day in and day out basis? No,
It just
right?
comes
Unless
natural. Mm.
Right, unless like say for instance, if you have allergies such as myself,
Mm.
or as far as if you're like super, super anxious and you feel like that you're hyperventilating, then that's when we really focus on our breathing. But more times than not, as we're having this conversation and as I'm speaking with you, Nadra, you're not thinking about your breathing. Absolutely not, because it's natural, right? So
Mm.
those are just some of the things in which I do to keep myself positive when I'm speaking with individuals because it can get pretty heavy, right? I
Right.
mean, you got to think about it. When you're talking with human beings and you're providing that space and that safe haven,
Mm.
people are trusting you, right? They're sharing very sensitive and personal, confidential information that, quite frankly, they may have never, ever in a lifetime told anyone. So you have to be able to provide that safe space and just
Mm.
let them know that it's okay and that
Oh. Mhm.
sometimes that's all a person really needs is just to have a person to listen, not necessarily comment every 2 or 3 minutes, but just listen. And you will be amazed by just the power of this listening and
Exactly.
listening
Yes.
with intent can do for a person. It's
Yes.
absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Exactly. Exactly. And I tell people all the time, well, I'll take that back. When I'm in a conversation that I feel that the conversation is veering off, where the person is hearing what I'm saying, but they're not listening to what I'm saying. And there is a difference. You can hear, of course we can hear what the words are saying, but in order to listen to me, to listen to what I'm really saying, and to um, be attached to the words and the emotions that I am feeling, or that, at the time, you have to listen. And there's a totally big difference. And people just think that, okay, listening and hearing is the same thing. No, you're not listening to where I'm coming from. You're not listening that I am really feeling pain from what you just said to me, or I'm really upset right now, please leave me alone. Let's come back to the discussion when I've had time to analyze what just happened, so that I can come back, whereas I'm not in my emotional state, I'm in my rational state. And people don't understand that. So yes, most
Yeah,
definitely.
that's very powerful in which that you stated.
Mm-hmm.
Brian Tracy, I don't know if you're familiar with Brian Tracy. He's a multimillionaire. He's been an entrepreneur pretty much his whole entire adult life and very, very, very popular, right? World renowned.
Yes.
He has something which is called an 80-20 rule. And when
Okay.
I first heard this, it blew my mind away, right?
Okay.
To be a great professional, to be a successful in anything which that you do, you have to adopt this 80-20 rule, which
Okay.
basically means that 80%, ladies and gentlemen, of when you're speaking to someone, 80% of the time, you're using this.
Right.
You're using this 80% of the time. You are listening with intent, right?
Right.
You're listening to them, to what they're saying, but also to what they're not saying. Very important to not to interrupt
Right.
because they're giving you very important information. The 20%, you use this to ask clarifying questions, right? And
Yeah.
also you're asking questions to move the conversation along.
Correct.
When I heard that, it blew my mind away. And it
Yeah.
also reminded me of when I was in the sales industry. I remember there was I heard that from one of the sales trainer, but I really didn't truly understood on what he was saying, right?
Yes.
But yet I grasped it anyway as time went along. So when I heard Brian Tracy say that, I think it was about 3 years ago, it just totally it was a mindset shift.
Okay.
And so now, combine that with all the experience in which I have learned, when I listen to people, I use this mostly. And even you, Nadra, you can attest because there's been times when me and you have spoken. I even timed this where I will allow for you to speak for about 15 to 20 minutes and I wouldn't say not one word, would I?
Right. And I'll be like, Shawn, are you there? Are you he's like, yeah, I'm just listening to you before I respond.
And then most of the time, and then when I do respond, do I or do I not ask you clarifying questions to get more clarity or to keep the
Yeah.
conversation going?
Exactly. Instead of assuming what I said.
Correct. That is powerful, ladies and gentlemen. And trust me, I get it. We're in a society now where people are like, go, 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 get to the point. I don't got that kind
Right.
of time, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But when you're dealing with people, I don't care as far as what business you're in. I don't care what products and services in which that you have. When you
Right.
adopt the 80-20 rule, keep this in mind, ladies and gentlemen. You're dealing with human beings. And one thing about us is that we love to talk about who ourselves.
So,
If you allow for a person to speak
exactly.
long enough, they will tell you exactly who they are. They will tell you as far as their need, their pain point, and also, ding, 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 listen to this, guys. Very, very important because it works. I use it all the time. They will tell you on how they want to be sold.
Powerful. Powerful. Yeah. Yes.
And
Now,
if you don't believe me, go ahead and try it and come back to me and let me know if it works.
right. Will you tell me a little bit about your ebook?
Absolutely. So I have two ebooks that is out. The first one is called uh, um hold on. Hold on. Because okay, I got it. I'm sorry, excuse me. Align for your greatness. And that just talks about the story of a gentleman by the name of Andre, in which that he talks about in the book on how he had to overcome so many self-limited beliefs from having such a poverty mindset, from him struggling for not knowing on who he was as a person. So throughout the story, and by the way, it's a short read as well, but as you're reading it, you will be able to see the progression in which that he goes through from having that poverty mindset to towards the end, he starts to discover on who he is as a person, and he's in alignment towards his greatness. The second one, in which I have From Broke to Greatness, is pretty much around the same premise, but it comes to it from a woman's point of view. Now, her name is Kendra. Now, though their stories are different, but you will be able to find as far as on her way from being a broken, coming from a broken home, not having any guidance whatsoever, identity crisis, right? Falling in love with people that's not beneficial and ideal for her to the point she comes to a revelation when she comes out of jail and she realized, as far as through divine intervention, she realized her true purpose and calling. And she gets married towards the end, and she's on her way as far as to greatness. But hold on, there's a cliffhanger. You want to know what that is? That's gonna
Go
come.
ahead.
That's gonna come in the third book. So you gotta stay tuned.
Oh, great, great. Every woman can attest to that, especially the like me. I haven't even read the book, which I will, but I can just relate to a lot of things that she went through, you know. And it also stems from, you know, the upbringing that you had, the your every pain and suffering and everything that an adult goes through, which is very which deals with the emotions that you go through. It all starts from your childhood, whether it's you know anything, a single mother upbringing, sibling rivalry. I mean, just all those mold you, and that's where your personality and your character forms, and a lot of people aren't really aware of that and don't really get in tune to it until they're at least, sitting in jail, because they haven't dealt with it, or turned to drugs and alcohol like I did because I didn't deal with it, or sitting on a therapist's couch. They those are some things that people, get that, okay, well, um mommy wasn't there for me. Daddy never showed me love like he did his other children, you know, just whatever that pain came that pain is coming from, and so I can really relate to that. Now, is that a character or is it based on um some of your clients?
Yeah, that's it's a combination, right? Because especially in hypnotherapy, a lot of the people in which that I work with, the
Mm-hmm.
main common denominator, it really stems as far as from childhood, because just like you articulately mentioned, from 0 to 7, that's when we're at our most suggestible. That's where we're at our core essence, right? This is where you even probably hear certain spiritual leaders talk about. That's when we're at our true innocence,
Yeah.
right? We're perfect from 0 to 7, right? So at that point, we're suggestible to just about everything, right? We're learning as far as, like, obviously how to walk, talk. We're learning what's right, what's wrong. We're in that discovery, playful state, right? So everything to us is just play, 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 and discovery and curiosity, in which it should be, right? From 0 to 7, you daggone
Correct.
skippy, right?
Correct.
Because I mean, if you think about it, around that time, what do you expect, a toddler and an infant around that time to do? Play, break things, mess up, get into stuff, right? It's innocent. Also, too, at that time, because we're so suggestible and our minds is not processed to say, okay, well, this is right, this is wrong. So we go by from what our caregivers, right, our parents or those that's influenced, and we go by them because they're our first teachers.
Right.
So what happens is that based upon of what we have learned, we didn't carry that on from 7 up until about 10 or even 12.
Mm-hmm.
This is where we start to learn to rationalize. We start to learn to understand what's right, what's wrong. And at the same time, though, even though we're starting to form as far as like our personalities, so to speak, at the same time, though, we're still under the caregivers. We're still absorbing things from the environment, from what we see on
Right.
TV, on the news, from school, from our friends, etc., etc., etc. Now, from that time up until about when we're a teenager, we're really in that phase of truly trying to discover ourselves. This is where, and the teenage years are so important because this is where a lot of times you have people that rebel, right?
Yes.
Pretty sure you guys can relate because I was one
Mhm.
of those that I was very rebellious and I felt I knew all the answers and mom didn't know
Mhm.
squat, right? Because
Right.
we are we are trying to discover ourselves on who we are. So
Mhm.
imagine that along with everything which that we learned and absorbed, plus going through our own trials and tribulations, if we didn't get the proper guidance and the proper teaching, right, so to
Right.
speak, then it's
Right.
like that now we got all this, and plus we're teenagers, so we're still trying to discover all this, and we're in puberty, right, and we're growing in places in which that we're like, okay, we got hormones in which that we're like as raging out of control. You can pretty much imagine if you combine that with drugs and everything else. So if that's not, and that's part of the childhood, right? So if we don't have tools to balance ourselves out by the time we get into early adulthood, such as like in our like from 18 to 21 and even to our 20s, and then moving into our 30s, if we don't have that the foundational tools set, then what happens is that we're out of balance, we're out of alignment, right? And it's no fault to anybody's own, it's just that we just didn't have the tools. So to
Mhm.
answer your question, is that a character? Yeah, I believe that that is based upon everybody's character right now. Obviously, some people grew up very, very well, and then you would notice as time went on, they fell into other type of vices or other sort of things, or maybe something traumatic happened as far as in their life or later on in life, and they wasn't able to deal with it. You understand?
Correct. Correct.
So this is the reason why the work in which I do is so therapeutic and yet so very powerful because a lot of the issues it really stems from the childhood, it stems from the family dynamics, and so on and so on and so on.
Right. Correct. You are absolutely correct. Because that's where I found myself really um going against my mother's rules, going against teachers, just being real, just a bad rebel rouser. And and that that really hurt me. But at the time, I mean, um emotionally and psychologically, because at the time I didn't think that, because I was just a teenager. I didn't, what was I to know and analyze and understand? I just wanted to party
Yep.
and stay away from my mother as possible
Right.
because of the relationship that we had. It
Right.
was basically null and void
Right.
until I became a mother. Then she wanted to be a grandmother to her grandkids, but she wasn't very much of a mother to me. So I had all that resentment and that animosity and just all that anger and hurt and just um I was the only one you had. Why come you didn't um take care of me better, but that was her decision. Those were her choices,
Exactly.
and yeah, it affected me because I was her responsibility.
Right.
But now I'm more aware of, okay, this happened to me, but that's not who I am.
Correct.
The choices that I made, you know, were bad choices, but as long as I I'm alive as long as God wakes me up each and every day that He chooses to wake me up. I have a choice to right my wrongs that I did to myself.
Absolutely.
You know, and if I ask someone to forgive me because I did something in my pain that hurt them, that caused trauma to them, and if they don't forgive me, that's not on me. That's something that they have to work out. And I understand that now. And I I have a right to move on with my life. I have a right to be happy. I have a right, I have a choice to do what's best for me. And everything good I choose for me.
Yeah.
So, so that's where I am right now, and that's the mindset that I'm in, you know.
Yeah,
No,
absolutely.
I'm over being angry, bitter, and judgmental, and just everything negative, you know. But I mean, I just I just want to I choose me. I choose me, and for so long I didn't choose me. I chose everybody but me. And that made me very unhappy. It was
Hmm.
exhausting. It was, to the point where, I was just like, forget it. I'm over it, you know? So,
Yeah,
yeah, well, thank you for sharing with me, and thank you for coming on my live. Did you
absolutely.
do
Absolutely.
you have anything to say before we end our session?
Yeah, totally. It's a lot of much that you said on that too. And I just want to just remind folks that forgiveness is something that we're supposed to forgive us, especially if you are a Christian, right? Or spiritual, right? Forgiveness is something that I think a lot of people misunderstand the term forgiveness. I believe that as far as they feel like, okay, if they forgive the other individual that they want, right? And I remember that as far as for myself, right? So I guess I'm speaking for myself that when I didn't want to forgive, like for an example, my mother, because how the way, our relationship was, right? It wasn't the best, right? And because of the fact that she made me always feel a certain kind of way and made me feel like that I wasn't worthy, that I wasn't good enough. And I used to always wrestle with that. And the bad thing about it was that when she passed on when I was 19, I felt like as far as that guilt, I never had a chance to really reconcile. So I wrestled with that. Combine that with the rage and resentment that I had for my father, and when he passed at 14, for the fact that he didn't want anything to do with me and my twin sister. So having all that rage and was just holding on to that and just didn't want to forgive because of the fact, to me, it was a sense of like power. It was a sense of control. I had every right to be angry, right? And resentful and bitter and angry. But
Mhm.
here's the thing that I want to mention to whoever's listening. When you hold on to that, believe me, no one is benefiting from that whatsoever. You're not benefiting from that whatsoever because of the fact, for health reasons, emotional and spiritual reasons, you are holding yourself back, right? By
Mhm.
holding on to that rage and resentment. Now, I'm saying, is it easy? Absolutely not. I'm not going to sit here and BS you. I'm not even going to be a hypocrite. No, it's not easy. And it's not supposed to be easy,
Mhm.
right? But it's something that is doable. And it is something that for your emotional and mental and spiritual growth, it is necessary for you to forgive.
Yeah.
Now, whether the person accepts that apology and they accept your forgiveness, that's totally on them because once that you have done that, listen to me very closely, guys. Once you have done that, regardless of the fact on whether they forgive you or not, it is none of your business. As long as you have done it sincerely and you are at a place where you're like, you know what, I'm ready to let this go and I truly forgive and I'm not worried about it no more. When you get to that point and when you do it, there is so much power to it. It's so much of a freedom of doing that. And I remember when I finally decided just to truly forgive my father and not hold him, accountable for all that stuff, right? It was so freeing. When I came to terms and grips with that and I finally forgave my mother and I had that confirmation, through the spirit that she accepted, my forgiveness and my apologies, right? Then it was like a relief. It was like, as far as I had like 10,000 pounds on my shoulder and it was just always just lifted. And for you, ladies and gentlemen, each and every single one, you have to get to that point and ask yourself, this guilt, this resentment, this unforgiveness, how is it serving? Now, if it's serving you well, by all means, and you hold on to it and you do what you gotta do, right? The best luck to you moving forward. But as far as for myself and for countless others that I have worked with, I have noticed that the forgiveness aspect, when we're not able to forgive, when we're not able to come to terms with forgiving, then it doesn't do you any good. And again, I'm going to emphasize this again. I know it's not easy because some people have been through some traumatic stuff that's way worse than what I ever been through, and which I can possibly even imagine or comprehend. So I'm not saying that it's easy. What I am saying is that it's doable, and when you do it, it's very therapeutic for you. But once that you are ready to hold on, to let that go. If you need help with that, then by all means, please feel free to reach out to me, and let's have a conversation about that, right? Because there's power and freedom and forgiveness, right? It's power and freedom for just letting that go. Because when you do, now you're able to be open and to receive, blessings and opportunities in abundance. But as long as you have that blocking you, blocking your energy, right? Blocking your spirit, then it's very, very difficult for the creator or whatever you believe in to really come in and bless you the way that you want to be blessed or need to be blessed, because you are blocking your own blessing. You are blocking your own abundance by holding on to that. And it can be in several different areas, right? And that's another topic for another day. I'm going on and on, but I think you guys get the point. I think you get the point. You're an intelligent
Yes,
bunch.
that
You get
that
the
was
point.
that was very powerful. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate it, and I'm pretty sure that our listeners will appreciate what you just said too. So thank you for coming on the live, and thank you for answering all the questions. And if anybody has questions, put it in the comments. And I thank you. You have a good night, Shawn, and I'll see you on the other side of greatness.
Right on. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Bye.